From Hollywood to Hollywood, when a woman comes back from California to Pennsylvania to fulfill her dreams of producing shows to help the community where she went to school as a young girl. Today we have the opportunity, we're going to talk to a young lady that actually came from Hollywood, or I should say California, and New York, and came back here to Pennsylvania, what we call Hollywood.
Hollywood.
Yeah.
I know. It's Dawn from Hollywood.
Well, you've been in the actually production business and that for many years, but I mean, tell me a little bit about your adventures.
About my adventures and my background?
Yeah.
Going how far back?
Well, you know, if you give you an idea, you know, how did you get into this business of actually making films and things like that?
I mean, well, for me, in my own experience, you know, like I ended up, you know, having to, after high school, I went to college, you know, like, and I went into working for a lot of news stations originally. Like, that's how I started, and I was doing editing and a lot of animation work because that was what was really popular, getting popular at that point, and rotoscoping and all the things that go along with that. Right. You know, ended up getting my feet wet in some pretty big companies, including, you know, like HBO and Time Warner and CBS, and you know, kind of went into more of the advertising side of it.
But a lot of it has to do with actually just making a living in the beginning, but you learn a lot that way.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, for me, there was a lot of reasons, even personally. You know, I was married at a pretty young age, so, you know, I was raising my daughter, and, you know, so the below the line stuff, I kind of, you know, everyone thinks your career path is going to go straight.
It don't.
It doesn't. No. You know, like your career path ends up being more like a cha-cha, you know, like.
But it's a learning experience.
Yeah,
it really is.
It zigzags. So, you know, like I went into advertising, I became an agent, I ended up, you know, then going into booking. I worked with a lot of musicians, you know, like, so I had that as like a side hustle.
And a background.
While I did the main hustle, you know, like I ended up going and moving up into advertising and corporations. And before I went above the line and doing producing, you know, like I did a lot of stuff in terms of advertising, you know, for that. But I always ended up coming back to Pennsylvania, interestingly enough.
And you've done some really big stars, you know, different things that I've seen you done. You really got involved with some pretty heavy people.
Yeah, I have. But you know what's funny about that is that for some of them we kind of, our paths ended up being like coinciding, where I was helping them with their career and they were helping me with mine at the same time.
And they grew into something.
Right.
But then, you know, really, COVID hit, right? And that was a dramatic, to all the entertainment world, you know, a standstill. And a lot of people don't realize that, am I right?
Well, I think that, you know, in so many ways, like not just music, not just theater, like so many parts of the entertainment industry, even though, you know, for people at home, they were binge watching, you know, like they don't realize like that took years for a lot of people to make. There's so much stuff that didn't even make it to that. And now there's this huge demand for content, you know, like we as a group in my company, you know, I have some really great team members, you know, like I'm really lucky that I have like, you know, some really, you know, seasoned veterans in the field like Tim and Kathy, like, you know.
And they're all the people that really make you better.
They do, you know what I mean? Like, it's absolutely. Like, and they have, well, they're exciting projects they work on too, and they're, you know, and they're good at what they do. We have very like-minded, you know, we're very like-minded in the sense that, you know, like our goals are aligned.
Well, and then of course you move back to Pennsylvania. Yeah,
well, this is what we did, is like we have this whole collective, you know, like where I have like Tim and Kathy more on the narrative side. I have Jennifer who does music videos. I've got like, you know, Meg who does docuseries. I have Sean who also does docuseries, and you know, Sean, Max, you know, they all do, like Dave, they do like more documentary, docuseries, features. You know, so between everybody, like, you know, we've got everybody covered in terms of, you know, the genres.
Right,
you know, like Karen, she does all kinds of big motion picture special effects. You know, so it's like we had this collective of people, and going into the pandemic, we had a lot of stuff that was in the queue to go. You know what I mean? going into the pandemic, yes, for some of these people that like some people we know, like I said, for Jennifer, she works in Tennessee, like they were still working through a lot of it because they're a right to work state, like they're lucky like that. But then in some other states, you go to, most of the stuff we were doing was like LA, New York, and
like they were shut right down.
Completely shut down.
Yeah.
We've experienced, like, for our docu-series type stuff, every time it was like we had to wait until everything would be open, and then we'd have to go and have a mad rush to do it, and then...
And, of course, Dawn, really, if you stop and think about it, all you had to do was watch the TV because there were so many reruns, am I right? So where's your dreams now?
Well, I mean, at this point, we're trying to put together, I'm trying to bring more to Pennsylvania. We were doing cooking series going into the pandemic, and that's something that, it seems like we've had more demand for that in the agriculture industry now
plays
too.
a big role in that.
It does. It's like, I mean, it seems like that was something that became really popular just because of the fact that there were so many people, especially in the cities, that they were so used to going out to eat, and then they didn't even know how to boil an egg for themselves.
And the first time I met you, you came down to the Pennsylvania Farm Show, right? And it seemed like you were there almost every day, watching people cook, watching how food was grown, and all that kind of stuff, right? Well, of course, you had a lot of knowledge to that anyhow.
Somewhat, because everybody looks at me and they go, "Oh, she's just a city girl." Because I had an uncle that was Nebraskan. He was a farmer. His whole family were farmers. Like, so I had in-laws that were. I was exposed to that at a really young age. In terms of growing your own food. We all had gardens. And even once I came into my adulthood too. It's like it was like I was around horses and dealing with all that.
Love, right?
Right. Like I mean, when you're a kid, all the kids love that. It's like playing with goats and sheep, and like your
cats and everything else.
Whatever, what I mean? Like, it's like, and then as an adult, I mean, I ended up learning things about food. Moving to California, I ended up going into these cooking series and learning so much. I almost opened up a pick your own. Because I had agricultural land when I was out there, and. So, like I learned from a lot of the growers out there about...
In your case, you come back to Pennsylvania. I know you're looking to really expand now.
Oh, yeah.
And...
well, I mean, at this point, like we were looking, going into the pandemic, for places to shoot. It's not the first time I've tried to bring more to Pennsylvania. Like there's been other times we've tried to do more productions here. But, I feel like now there's a good opportunity because there's so many people just like me that have had to move here for their parents, for their kids, like for their families.
Right.
There are a lot of people that are commuting to the cities, and
of course, I know you get along good with the people here too, in town and all that.
Oh, I've been blown away in a way with how the outpouring of support that I've gotten from the community itself.
Right,
I mean, really, like there was a town meeting where everyone got together to help, and be like, we want them here, and we're trying to do more. I'd love to set up programs for the kids. You have schools like Wallenpopak, and as far as the high school kids go,
FFA and 4-H and all of them.
I mean, we could be doing stuff where we could be setting up cooking shows and showing the kids how to do the styling on it, and help them create their own series.
And of course, we're in a world today where they could become producers. It enhances the ones that want to become farmers, the ones that want to become whatever it is, right? It enhances what they're doing because you're showing the next generation. Am I right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, Dawn, I want to thank you for coming on. How's that?
Oh, and, thank you very much for having me.
We're sitting out here in the country, Pennsylvania country.